What's up everybody, Brody here from Sew Yeah Quilting. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this quick and easy 3-4-5 quilt. This quilt right here you can make with just a jelly roll and some background fabric. The fabric line that we use for this quilt is called Sunny Side Up. During the tutorial today I'm going to use a brand new line by Moda called Farm Fresh. Let's get started. Okay, before we get started I want to show you a couple things on this quilt. The reason it's called the 3-4-5 quilt is because each one of our squares here has 5 pieces. You have 3 pieces that you've sewn together in the beginning, which I'm going to show you how to do. You have your 4th and your 5th pieces that you add on after that. So one other thing that I want to point out is you can see in each one of my blocks that my center row on each one kind of maintains the same color tone. So on these I used whites, and on the quilt we're going to be making today I'm going to be using gray fabrics. Okay, so I popped open my jelly roll and I've separated them into 4 different piles. I've got a dark pile, black pile, blue pile, red pile, and white pile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain a gray and a white center strip. So this one is pretty much predominantly white. I'm going to do gray and whites in this next quilt I'm going to make. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a strip out of your dark pile. So I'm going to grab my one from the black pile. Your center strip is going to be a white, or whatever color it is you're using in your jelly roll. And then your 3rd strip is going to be another one of your dark fabrics. Okay, I'm going to separate the entire thing like that. Alright, so I've got a set of my strips here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open them up one at a time. I'm going to put right sides together. So I've got my dark piece and my light piece. And I'm going to just sew a 1/4 inch seam down one side. So line them up. I usually like to put my selvages all on the same end. So I've got my 2 selvages. I'm lining them up here just like this. And you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down the side like so. Okay, so you get to the end and you're going to open up your strips here. So dark and light. And I'm going to sew on my 2nd darker strip onto my light strip. So dark, light, adding another one. Obviously this isn't too dark, but it's not our white theme we're going for. So put them together. Same thing, 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so I got my first set done just like this. Here's the 3 portion of your 3-4-5 quilt. Do that with the rest of the pieces. Meet you back here to start cutting. Alright, so after you've sewn your strips together, what you're going to do is just grab your iron and you're going to just press open your seams. You can start by setting the seam if you'd like. So basically you're just going to, I've already pressed this one open, but you're basically just going to put your seam down like this, press it to where it's open, like so, all the way down, and then what you're going to do is fold it open like this, grab your iron, and open up the rest of your seam like so. So you do this to all of your pieces that you've sewn together, like this. Once you've done that, you're ready to start cutting. Alright, so I've got all my strips ironed. I'm just going to show you an example here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my cutting. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay down your strips, or strip, excuse me. What you're going to do is start by cutting off your selvage edges. So I'm going to line it up with this line right here. So I'm about 1 inch off the bottom of my mat. I'm at about a 1/4 inch over the edge here where my selvage edge is. Grab my ruler, my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to basically trim up or square up my set of strips here. So trim this up. Now the blocks we want to make this quilt are 6.5 inches cut. So what I'm going to do is count off 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. Set my ruler down, line it up on the top and bottom, and cut. So you're going to do this to all of your strips. It's going to give you a block that looks just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Back at you in a second. So when you finish cutting up one of your rows, this is all the waste that you're going to have on the end of it. So not bad at all. Okay, so I've got a stack of my blocks here that are all cut out. I'm going to lay them down. Hopefully you can see them here. Lay them down so you can see what they look like. Just like this. Now what I'm going to do is each on our quilt here, you have 7 blocks wide. Obviously you can make it bigger or smaller depending on what you like. For our quilt today we're going to do 7 blocks wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and finish the blocks so we can go ahead and put them in rows. So what you need to do is get your background fabric, whatever you're going to use in your quilt. This one obviously I used white fabric. For the quilt we're making today, like I said, I'm going to use gray. So I have some quilt squares that I've already cut up here. some fabric squares, and I've cut them into 3.5 inch blocks. So that's what we're going to use to make these cornerstones, these little key pieces here in the corner of each one of our blocks. So let me show you how you do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab one of your squares, and you can do one of two things. You can iron it, which is kind of the more, well, let's start over. What you can do is one of three things. You can either grab your ruler and mark a line down the center of each one of these squares on the diagonal. Or, like I showed you in one of my last videos, you can fold them in half like this and iron them so you have a crease that you're gonna sew across. Or the last thing you can do is just fold them in half, give them a little finger press, and put them on your machine and start sewing. That's what I'm gonna do on this one right here, just so I can show you. So, coming over to my machine, going to set the fabric here in the corner of the block, and you're gonna sew, I'll show you here under this bottom camera, you're gonna sew a line across your block like this. So you set it on top like this, you're going to sew a line right here. So let me show you how you do that. And you can do it right, as long as you're doing it consistently the same across all of your blocks. Doesn't really matter if it's in the center of the line or a 1/4 inch to the right of the line. I'm gonna put it right in the center, because that's where my needle's set to. Just like this. So just like that. You're gonna sew on your first piece of fabric. So here's the bottom view down here. Just like this. Now you're gonna grab another square and you're gonna sew it on the opposite side like so. Let me show you. So this is the first square that we sewed. Second one's right here, doing the same thing. Ooh, so this one I forgot to put a little crease in, so I don't wanna get off course. So I'm just gonna kind of do a little finger press, open it up, pop it on there. So all your blocks should be looking like this at this point. I'm gonna do that to the rest of these blocks, come back in a second. Okay, so here's a pro tip for you. One thing you wanna make sure of is when you're doing kind of like an assembly line, you're putting together your blocks, make sure that you're showing each one of your blocks on the same sides every time. So if you're sewing one right here and one right here, and then you go on your next block and you sew one here and one here, it's going to make a difference. Okay, so at this point we should have our blocks that are looking like this. Okay, so you should have 3 strips of fabric that are sewn together, and then your corner pieces on each side. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors or a rotary cutter, whatever you prefer, and you're going to cut off everything that's on your corner pieces here, about a 1/4 inch away from the seam that you've sewn. So when you open it up, it should look like this. You do that on both sides, you can do it to all of your blocks. So then you fold it open, press it, it's gonna look just like this. Okay, now that you've got all of your blocks prepared, you're going to start assembling your quilt top. Now, I like to lay things out. You can do it on a design board, or you can do it on your floor, your cutting mat, but lay things out, that way you can see and make sure you don't have 2 of the same block next to each other, and also 2 of the same print next to each other. It always messes things up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna lay 7 of these blocks together. I'm gonna go ahead and sew them together into rows. So I'm gonna sew the first 2 like this, sew this together, and the next 2 like this, and sew the 4 together, and keep going, building my rows. Okay, so I've got my 2 blocks here. I'm gonna lay them on top of each other, right sides together, obviously. And I'm going to sew 1/4 inch seam down the blocks. Okay, so I'm putting in my last piece on my row here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna make 9 of these rows. That's what it takes to make this quilt right here. If you wanna make it bigger, obviously again, you can continue to build rows and make it bigger. But this quilt right here ends up being about a 55 by 65. So it doesn't really matter what you do whatever the heck you want. All right, so row is sewn. I'm gonna go ahead and finish sewing the rest of my rows, and we're gonna start putting the rows together just like we would any other quilt. Okay, so I've been putting together my rows, and I've been sewing my rows together. So I have a handful of them that are already sewn. What I'm gonna do is show you how to match up your points right across here, or your seams, I guess better said. So flip your row on top of the other row that you're sewing it onto. And what you basically just want to do, and I showed this in my last video, I'll go ahead and put that video down in the description below so you can go ahead and see it and how I did it. I just call it the push and pull method. Basically what you're gonna do is you're going to take your seams here. Let me make sure you can see this. Yep, okay. So put your seams here like this. You're going to match up your seams and either pin or clip it. So that one's matched up. Come over here, do the same thing like that. You're gonna do that across the whole strip to make sure that your points are lined up. So again, this gives you a little bit of room for error if your 1/4 inch wasn't quite right, or if you were distracted by something and look away for a second and all of a sudden your points are off. This kind of fixes that for you, just like that. Now you're gonna take this over to your machine and you're going to sew your row on. So this one's actually my last row. So I'm going to get my quilt like this. I'm gonna kind of fold it up best I can, or I can manage it a little better. Bring it over to the machine here, oops, and start sewing. So I'm gonna start by matching up my top corner here. Use my machine to just tack it in place, just like that. And then if you need to do a little bit of pushing and pulling, get it to line up, you can go ahead and do that. Now when you get to a spot that you have your pin and your clip, what you're gonna do is pull it out, and you're also just gonna keep pressure down right on top of the spot where it was pinned until you get it right up underneath your presser foot. So just like that. Okay, so just got done putting on my last row. I'm gonna pop it open, see how it looks. All right, looking good. So now you have two options from this point. You can go ahead and just quilt it and bind it and leave it just like this, or you can go ahead and put borders on. And in the video, I'm gonna show you how to make these borders. So let's get to it. All right, so what we've done now is I've gone ahead and I've cut 5.5 inch borders for this quilt. Now the borders are gonna be the same color as your triangle pieces that are here in the corner of each block. So I've got 6 of these 5.5 inch borders cut, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and sew them all together in one long strip on the bias, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. So grab your strip, open it up, you grab your next strip like so. I'm gonna bring it over to this camera so everybody can see it, and you're gonna lay them over the top of each other like this. You're gonna hang over just a little bit to account for the selvage, like so. You can pin it, you can wonder clip it, whatever you want to do. And you're gonna sew a diagonal line across like this. Okay, so I've sewn this line across just like this. What I'm gonna do is take out my clips and do the same thing to the next piece. Obviously when you open these up, it's gonna make your bias border. So here we go again. All right, so I've got all my borders sewn together here. What we're gonna do is just like any other border, you're going to cut off the excess corner pieces here. About a 1/4 inch seam, or excuse me, about a 1/4 inch away from the seam. All right, so I've laid down my quilt top on top of my table here, and I've got my borders. So what I'm gonna do, I do it like the no measuring, no cutting method here. So what you're gonna do is you're basically just going to lay down, give yourself a little bit of extra space on the top of your quilt. And, oops, I got this backwards. You're going to lay it down right sides together, basically so that your seam that you've sewn is pointing up in the air. And you're going to line it up down this whole side of your quilt. So obviously you're gonna have a big ball of extra hanging off the end, that's okay. And you're going to pin it or clip it and then sew it. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so I've laid my quilt out here. As you can see, I still have the rest of this right here. Grab my scissors. I'm just gonna cut this off flush with the bottom of my quilt. I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side. So I'm gonna pull it across here like this. I'm gonna grab my piece here. Make sure you put it the right direction. Lay it on top. Pin it down. Off to the races again. All right, now that I got all my borders sewn on, all I'm gonna do is go around and trim them up You can use a rotary cutter and a ruler, scissors, whatever works. You're always gonna, after it's quilted, you're always gonna finish trimming it up a little bit anyways. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use scissors. Just finished my quilt top and it looks awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and take this across the building to our long armor to get it finished. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. I'm gonna go ahead and put instructions of how to make this quilt in the description below. I'm Brody, teaching you how to sew like a pro. See you next time here at Sew Yeah Quilting. Done?